Hey, I'm Anna Disclaim, a producer and sound engineer. In this video, I'm going to build the main elements of a track with audio to MIDI conversion. Let's start. So let's drop this audio loop onto an empty clip slot on an audio track and play it back. I really like these chords, but I prefer to have a different sound to them. In order to achieve that, I'm going to right-click on the clip and then hit Convert Harmony to New MIDI Track. Live will extract the notes out of this audio loop into a new MIDI clip, and then I will be able to change what device these MIDI notes are triggering. There are chords consisting multiple notes, therefore it's polyphonic sound, and that's why I use harmony to MIDI conversion. Here are the notes that Live has extracted, so now I'm able to change the length of the notes, delay it, and do any editing that you would normally do to MIDI notes. To ensure there are no unexpected wrong notes playing back outside of the scale, I'm going to bring in the scale device. And I'm using the C minor preset as the chords were in C minor. I can change the bass, which will change the root note of the scale. But let's just set it back to C minor now. And what this device does, it takes the wrong notes and slaps them to the nearest note that actually is part of the current scale. So now I'm ready to change the sound of the chords. So let's drop in this Atmos pad in Wavetable. So now they sound like this. Now let's quickly duplicate this clip and make an edit. So I'm going to select a bunch of notes and then right click and choose in the contextual menu deactivate. So now these notes are not active anymore. So let's play it back. So that was a bit too much, so let's just bring this one note back. That's better. So let's quickly do some housekeeping and rename the clip so I will know later which one is which when the time comes to arrange. So here is the full version. So let's go ahead and delete the track that has the original audio loop as I don't need it anymore. So now I have my first melodic element. Let's add some beats as well. So the next thing to do is drop this drum loop in. And it's the same deal again. I really like the rhythm of these drums, but I prefer to have a different sound to them. So this time I'm gonna hit Convert Drums to New MIDI Track. Now we can hear the result of the conversion. And we can have a look at the notes in the MIDI editor. Let's quickly go ahead and delete the track which has the original audio as it's not needed anymore. I'm gonna make a duplication as I like to make some edits. So right now they are totally identical, both of the clips. I'm gonna select all the hats and then right click and select quantize. So let's take a listen. These are the quantized hats, and I still have the one which has some swing to them. Now let's go ahead and change how these drums are sounding. So I'm going to quickly delete the default 606 kit that's added automatically after conversion and bring in my own drum rack that I built a bit earlier. I'm going to quickly rename the clips as well as I like to make further edits, but it's easy to get lost in the session view if I just keep hitting duplicate and I'm not really writing down what's inside those clips. So let's come up with a few more versions. So I'm going to take a copy of the last clip again. I have a couple more sounds in my drum rack, so this time I'm going to record in some shakers. So I just hit record on my push and then just playing the notes with note repeat. So now that's done, let's go ahead and rename the clip again. I'm gonna make another edit, so let's take another copy of the last clip, but this time I'm going to remove some notes. So I selected all the hats and then hit deactivate notes from the contextual menu again. Actually, let's take out all the shakers as well, so select them all and deactivate them. We can go ahead and rename this clip as well. Let's make another clip and this time take out the snares as well, so all we're gonna be left with is the kicks. Rename it. And now I'm gonna make my last and final edit to the drums. So I take a copy of the clip that has the most elements playing back at the time, and I like to come up with a pattern in half time. So I delete all the shakers and move some of the snares and the kicks until I get the result. Okay, so let's check it out. Now I think I have enough variations of drum patterns, so I am ready to move on. So let's do a quick housekeeping and rename my last edit. So now I got the beats, I'm gonna come up with a bass line. Usually I would use a MIDI controller to do that, but this time I'm gonna use a different technique. So for my bass line, I'm gonna quickly insert an audio track, as I will not play the notes in as MIDI, I will sing them. And then go ahead, right click on the track that has wavetable on and freeze the track in order to avoid audio dropouts while I'm on a fairly low buffer size. Now the devices are still there, but I can only tweak the parameters once I unfreeze the track. Before I start recording, I drop the real-time tuner by Waves onto the track. It's a good plugin to tune my vocals while I'm recording without causing any input latency. So let's set it to the right scale. And I'm using this plugin as it's extremely important to hit the right notes and pitch for the conversion to work after I recorded. So let's quickly check if I have signal, set the monitoring to auto, arm the track, and I'm ready to record. Na, 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 na. Awesome, so now my voice is recorded. I can quickly right click on the clip, and this time I'm going to use convert melody to new MIDI track. And the reason I'm using melody conversion, because it's my voice and I'm going to transform it to a bass line, so I'm dealing with a monophonic sound. So let's check out the notes that Live has extracted. Great, the conversion done a pretty good job. So now I can just go ahead and tidy up the notes. I'm gonna quickly select all the notes and then hit quantize so I can tidy up the timing as well. And I also like the notes to meet on the grid without overlapping, so if I hit legato, that will do exactly that job. The notes are pretty high in pitch right now, so let's just quickly transpose them down by 2 octaves. And now we in fact have a bass line out of my voice. Let's go ahead and delete the original audio track as it's not needed anymore. And now I can also change the sound of the bass. So I'm dropping this wash bass sound from operator. And I also like to have some repeated notes. So I'm dropping on the arpeggiator so I can change the rate. So it's a bit faster. And I can adjust the gate. And the gate defines how long the notes are in the arpeggiation. So let's set it to something in the middle. It would be also great to layer this bass sound, so let's quickly add a new MIDI track. And now I'm gonna copy the same bass notes from the wash bass track onto this newly created MIDI track. And once this is done, I'll drop this sub-bass sound that I saved out earlier. Let's go into the clip and transpose the notes down by another octave and play back the result. So now I got the bass line, I'm gonna add another audio track and record a vocal hook. So after inserting a new audio track, let's drop in the tuner again and set it up to the right scale quickly. Set up the speed and the no transition. Also, let's check out quickly if I'm still picking up the right input and I have signal. Put the monitoring to auto and arm the track. And I'm ready to record, so let's get to it. Awesome, my vocals are definitely in. Now I want to add some processing to the vocals, so I'm going to drop this audio effect rack that I saved out earlier. It has a couple of audio effects that I usually use as a starting point when I'm treating vocals. So the first one is an EQ8 that I'm using to cut all the low frequencies below 100 Hz, as there are no such low frequencies that we should have in female vocal mixes. I also have a compressor here to control the dynamics of my vocals, so I can quickly set the threshold, adjust the ratio, the release, and the attack to be more responsive to the vocals. I have another EQ8 that I'm using to boost some of the high frequencies in order to make the vocals sound a bit brighter. And the reason it's done in a second EQ is because I didn't want to affect the compressor settings with the frequency boosts. I'm adding some creative effects as well. One of them is eCowboy, this delay plugin by Soundtoys. And the other one is Microshift, also by Soundtoys, which is giving this chorus effect and really fatten up the vocals. I also have a limiter just to add some extra volume and highlight the effects. Let's check out the vocals without the effects. And with them. I also want to add some additional reverb and delay via the sends and returns, just to smoothen out the sound. I like what I recorded, but I want to get a bit more creative with the vocals. I'm going to use the simpler to create vocal slices and rearrange the phrases. Let's insert another MIDI track and then drop simpler on it. Once that's done, I'm just going to drag the vocal clip into the simpler. And we can see the waveform. I can adjust the starting point, zoom in, and then I can navigate to the slice tab. And as we can see, Simpler already added some slices by the transient, so I changed it to manual, so now I'm able to double click where I like to add a slice. So now I have a couple of slices. I can right click and then choose slice to drum rack. And now all these slices are going to be living on a cell in a drum rack, and I will have all the power that I usually have within a drum rack. So I can play back the slices. What's also great is that now all these vocal slices are living in their own simpler separately, one by one, opposed to before when the whole vocal line was living in one simpler. So I couldn't have any control over the slices independently. Now I'm gonna add different effects to each slice to make them sound more interesting. So the first slice will have this low pass filter, the second slice will have simple delay on, and the third slice will have a band pass filter, and the fourth one I will leave it alone. So this is how the different slices are sounding after I drop these effects onto them. I also like to apply some more processing to the vocals by bringing in the same rack that I used for the hook, so I can adjust the compressor accordingly. I can create an empty MIDI clip and then just use the piano roll and paint in a sequence of these slices. Now I'm gonna create a few more clips to have some variety. There we go, I have a couple of clips now with different sequences triggering the vocal slices. I'm also bringing in the same creative effect rack that I used for the hook, the Eco Boy and the Microshave by Soundtoys. Adjust the volume and check out the result. I really like the way the track is developing, but I want to add some more melodies and textures to the song before I finish my work in the session view. I have Simpler here again, playing back the very first phrase of a loop, and I'm quite a big fan of Simpler because any audio I drop in there, I'm able to play it back as an instrument with really little effort and get creative with whatever I have in there very quickly and easily. Another instance of Simpler, playing back this choir sound, and I also have auto pan there, which is providing this modulated panning. And as we can see, I have an extra send and return as well, which contains the echo device. So now I have enough musical elements, I'm ready to finish my track in the arrangement view. So here is my arranged track, and I'm going to be jumping around in the session a little bit so I can show you what I have added and what I did. So the first thing we can hear is this rain sound. And I tend to add something like this to pretty much all my tracks, and it's either an ambient sound from the real world or a drone from a synth. And it's really just there to provide some extra texture to the sound. I've also sidechained it. So the compressor on the rain sound is triggered by the track called Ghost Sidechain. And this track has been set up purely to trigger the compressor. It has some notes, but the track is actually muted and not part of the arrangement. So the next thing, I have this drone sound in the background also provided by Contact. This violin sound is triggered by the same chord all the way through the track. It also has a frequency cutoff automation on the auto filter device that I've added, and as we can see, this sound is also sidechained to the same Ghost Sidechain track. I've got this little moving key sound at wavetable too, and it also has the scale device on, so I was able to play in the notes super quickly. So let's go and check out where the arpeggiated bass line went to, and as we can see, it's coming in the breakdown, and it also has an auto filter device on that I have automated. So the frequency cutoff is increasing as we are getting closer to the drop. Now let's go and check out these audio clips, which are transition sounds, some risers and sweeps. These sounds are quite important if you like to highlight some changes within the arrangement. Now, these are some Foley sounds, which are reproductions of everyday sound effects. And this is how they sound together with the drums. Again, I added these Foley sounds to create some more textures over the drums as well. Now let's take a look at what happened to the vocals. So I got this extra vocal track where I've just copied the long notes of the hook and processed them. I'm using the Tremolator by Soundtoys to provide this sidechain gate effect to the vocals. And the last thing I like to talk about is what I have on my master. I have an EQ8 which is there to remove some of the unpleasant and oversaturated frequencies, as well as a glue compressor to jam my mix and provide some extra dynamic control. I also have another EQ8 which I switched to mid-side mode, which means I have control over the mids and the sides of my mix. And what I can do, I can solo the bands that I'm about to boost. As we can see, I boosted some of the high frequencies in the sides of my mix, and I boosted some of the lows in the middle of my mix. If we head back to the sides, I cut out the very low frequencies from the sides, as we don't need the low frequency rumble there. This way we can get more separation and a cleaner mix. I also have a limiter just to look after the peaks and provide some extra volume. This is how I use existing audio and my own voice to come up with ideas without any limitations. Also, sketching in the session view really speeds up my workflow, as I'm not having to worry about any timelines or moving clips. I'm Anna Disclaim, and I really hope you enjoy my video.